I would suggest that the brand story should come before any other part of your brand. So before you start thinking about your logo, before you start thinking about your color palette, your web design, a really good solid brand story which is derived from your strategy will actually support your logo and support how all those visual parts of your brand are created. So I would suggest that you could start thinking about your brand story right from the beginning. And I know for a lot of startups it's kind of product focused for the first few months, if not few years, and that's really important. But on the side, if you can kind of start developing your story as a differentiator to go with your product at the same time, then you really will stand apart in the market. Not a lot of startups do that. Usually I find businesses are usually 3 or 4 years in before they start thinking about taking a step back and thinking, okay, now I don't need to just think about product or service anymore. I now start thinking about what my brand looks like. If you can start thinking about it right from the beginning, you're then 3 or 4 years ahead of those that didn't. So I would suggest as soon as you can, really start putting all those foundations in place. How do you know if your brand story needs clarification or if it's the right story to tell? That's a tricky question, and it's not one you're going to know the answer to without trialing it. You'll know if your story is resonating because people will be telling it. People will be interested when you say it. Eventually you'll hear other people telling your story and you won't be the one instigating it, and that's how you'll know that you've got it right. It's not set in stone. It's not to say I've developed this story and this is kind of what it should be and it's never going to deviate. The whole concept of a story is that it will be shaped, it will be molded as time progresses and as people tell it. So the story belongs to the person telling it, not to the owner. So it's really something to bear in mind that you're going to have to see what sticks. You're going to have to not be precious about it and let your customers and let the market shift it around and tell it how they want to tell it. And obviously you can orchestrate it to some extent, but it's just really important to remember that it's not set in stone, that it will be fluid, that it'll change over time. And you'll know when you've got one that's good because other people will want to tell it, and you'll find you'll hear it being told, and it will really stick and resonate, and when you're telling it to people they'll really get it. That's how you'll know you've hit gold with your brand story. If you decide you do want to rebrand or change your story, the first thing you need to do is find out why. Why do you want to change? Is it that it's not resonating with people? Is it that you've taken your business, you've pivoted and changed your business in a different direction? Is it because you've partnered with maybe a non-for-profit, or there's another part of your story that you haven't been telling? So get to the root cause first of all, and then you can work up from there. So I would always suggest just where you can just speak to your customers or clients. Conduct interviews, always over the phone or face-to-face, never in writing, because you won't get the full picture of what they're saying. They'll edit what they're writing, whereas when they're speaking they won't edit. Just go back to the grassroots and find out what they're saying, what they like about you, what they don't like about you. Even if you've got 10 customers, make sure you speak to them, but if you don't have enough to do a kind of really big overall survey, then you can just go online and look at similar products or services in similar industries and find out what people are saying about them. So Facebook groups are great for that, Twitter conversations, LinkedIn groups, even going on Amazon. What are the 10 most popular books in your industry? Look those up on Amazon and then look at what the comments of what people are saying about those books, and then you'll get really good advice on what people's challenges and pain points are. Once you've collected all that information, then you'll kind of know how you can go about your rebrand and what story you might need to shift to help grow your business or help resonate with people if you're finding what you've got already isn't resonating.